chairperson of this lovely committee, our budget committee. Call the hearing to order. It was your chance to make comments, recommendations, voice your opinions. We are going to have a PowerPoint presentation, so right after each warrant is presented or each article is presented, you'll have a chance to speak. We'd like you to come up to the mic and let us know who you are. And we'll limit it to 2 minutes so that everybody gets a chance to say something if they'd like to. So welcome. This is the budget committee. We've been meeting for a couple months, along with last year a few times. He was the co-chair, Bob, Karen, and Terry, and lovely Shelley, who's our taker. So welcome. I'm going to pass this on to Ronson. He's going to start the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Ronson Berry, Director of Finance and Administration. So the first article we have is Article 6, that is the Water and Sewer's first warrant article. They're looking to raise and appropriate up to $2 million for engineering. The first 6 articles are on sewer, so I'll pass this down to them and let them take it over. If you want to give a high level overview, just give an overview.
Okay, Article 6 basically will be a ballot vote, requires a 2/3 vote, and to apply for and accept a grant from the state for
It's a loan through
loan to the state, water
lead service line replacement.
lead service line replacement. It's a special fund that they have, state manages and federal government spending. And the federal government support. Effectively, the $2 million will allow the department over a period of years as stated in the legislative rules as amended by the EPA to confirm basically research that are already left in the system, if any, they've been pulled out over the years. Or if there are any galvanizing in the system change to minimize potential deposition. 71% principal forgiveness, I said to the superintendent, and basically yesterday, they BS people, and 71% of the available quoting is available this year. They also mentioned that after this year, it will go down, and the amount of forgiveness will be reduced. They're not sure how far it will go down, but we're looking down at least 5%. If you the $2 million will in effect cost the town $580,000. What the town, the ratepayers to do, come out of water and sewer, not the milk on the town, it won't be a town law, the town law, or no living payments. That comes due after the work is completed.
You want me to go up there or?
If you could, just so the, mics can pick it up. Or if you want to use the mic, whatever works best. That mic, you just have to, let's see the green light, you're all set.
It's halfway down, Mary. There you go. Yeah, oh, you have it. Oh, but if it's green. Yeah, it's green. Okay.
I know that there's a lot of these, and I know you haven't set your rates yet. Do we have any idea what each of these would do to affect the rates down the road? Or is that just not something we can figure out right now?
We have not looked at this at this point in time. The payment starts after the project is completed.
Lee, one quick point. I'm Peter, town manager. You mentioned any payments wouldn't be due till after the project is over. My recollection is that's like what, a 2035 date? Was it that late?
137.
2037. So this would not be.
Year after that.
Could be 1 year after the term of the note, whatever the state does. They did say they may not allow 10-year notes, so it could come quicker. And if it does, we probably will not have expended the full contingent, so it'll be a little.
Thank you.
Another question?
Yep.
Please.
Article 7. Similar article, this is the replacement of the revised piece of equipment for wastewater treatment facility. The $1,900,000. Funded in similar fashion, that different department, DES, Department of Environmental Services, this to be wastewater, and the drinking water. The existing press is 45 years old. 30 years old, and it is at the point now where you cannot get parts for it. It is a major piece of equipment process that allows us to get our sludge, and then the process of the landfill, meet the landfill requirements, and not moisture. So, see, and again, this one, we have the planning is undertaken for this project. The lack of proceeding with this project, if the existing press fails, will probably end up being an extremely high cost on shift our operations of the plant. We'll have to find another way to dispose of the sludge. I'll get a dispensation to handle sludge that's maybe not as dry as the landfill is working. The landfill has been very cooperative on this meeting. Final result is being able to have a new press that will not be the current requirement in that. But will be still very slow.
It will need to meet the requirements.
Yes, it's better.
Okay.
No, Article 8. Will be a this is to fund the planning for the Hickory pump station up near the paper mill, if people go down. And the other side has to be flashed. That is the original pump station. They put in when the treatment plant, the pump station, the sewers were built. And it has not yet reached its end of life, but it is approaching it. It presently has the pumps in a dry, I don't see it, components go down and service it. The modern way of doing these things is to put your pumps up above grade, so you don't have to worry about hazardous areas and people getting into hazardous areas if possible. Gases and things like that. This is a planning grant, and it's holding in the sentence that it will be forgiven state. You have to pay it, and it will be paid us after the bill to pay. So that is not going to affect water, or sewer, or anybody's rates, and they will in town. That. Any questions on that? So the upper grant of $100,000, which we expended to do the first phase of the work in there. And this would complete the upgrades of that equipment that's in that part of the operation of the wastewater treatment facility. And then this is a planning grant approved by the board, so it will be 100%. Given by the state after we pay the bill, if it is not, and it is planning done. It basically includes replacing a couple of pumps and drives and the ventilation system in that area. Everyone based in it. There's another three. This is the plan, grant, actually the plan is underway. But this will take care of the planning which we've already authorized for the replacement of the press on the $190,000 article. That will send, this is passed. State that the plan was completed. Do you have any questions? The fall state revolved in issuance of any bonds.
We're skipping to Article 12 now, because Article 11 doesn't have to do with any money. So Article 12.
Okay, Article 12. Budget. City Council vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $644,227 for the operation of the sewer department. It will be offset by user fees and sewer funds. It will not affect general taxation. And it says it's already recommended by the board of selectmen. The actual budget presented to deal with this money from the sewer department There's actually a reduction of $2,278 from what last year's request was. The biggest part of that is because there's one less pay period in 2025 than the one in 2024. There are various numbers that do increase and decrease, but most of them are utilities and things like that. So we have a question for the sewer budget, and we have a handout.
I know originally it sounded like the water and sewer department were going to go for a match of the 3% COLA that was being requested by the town. If the voters turn down that 3%, how does that affect you folks?
If the voters turn it down, we can always follow the town on great wage increases or decreases. So, although the commissioners have not taken any formal action obviously on this, I would expect we would follow the town's lead on the voters' request.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So, $5 million for the operation of the water department, again, we want to be offset for user fees and water funds and not affect general taxation. And again, so far as what we need by the board of selectmen. That is a decrease from last year's request of $16,437, or 2.74%. Again, most of that is due to the one less pay period. Do you have any questions? Commissioner, will you have that?
Sorry now.
Thank you very much. I want to know for your questions you did ask because important.
Thank you very much, Lee, and welcome to the commissioner. Okay, next up is Article 14. This one's submitted by petition. This article is to see if the town will be in favor of requiring the town to issue an RFP on or by July 1st to invite qualified external agencies to submit RFPs for dispatching services for the town of Gorham. There's no tax rate impacts tied to this. There's no from what I can see, there's no funding source tied to it. That's partially why the idea behind is that I won't get into, you know.
Just read
Yeah, thank you. So read the article as you suggested, submit proposals for providing external dispatch service to the town of Gorham, including any current contractual agreements for dispatch service to Shelburne, Randolph, and Gloucester County for unincorporated places for the length of said contracts. And furthermore, to require the town of Gorham to accept the lowest proposal received for external dispatch service that is at least $75,000 less than the proposed 2025 budget of $360,000 for Gorham Police Department's internal dispatch service, not including one-time set of costs related to the changeover to external dispatch service or any costs for personnel in any town of Gorham department specifically hired for police department office duties. Issuing this request for proposal will not require any additional amount to be raised by taxes per the RFP language. There will be no express or implied obligation for the town of Gorham to reimburse the responding departments or agencies for any expenses incurred in preparing proposals in response to the RFP. As was voted on Monday, it was not recommended by the board, selected by a vote of 3-0. At this time, I open up any want to come up and ask questions.
You know, anybody,
Maybe other people don't. I don't know,
I'm at it,
thank you.
Budget committee was given a quote, not a quote, I'm sorry, that's probably not right, but an estimate of over $400,000 to go to external dispatch. The towns in Coas County, none of them is paying $100,000. None of them. Now, I know that the estimate was given a lot of one-time costs to set it up, but it wasn't made to sound that way. There are going to be costs if this goes through, one-time costs to set it up. We're paying, according to this year, if it goes through, as I'm sure it will, $363,000 for dispatch. So I'm saying that's $260,000 more than it should cost us per year for external. As far as I know, there's only 2 other towns. One is a city in Coas County that have their own dispatch. All the others are external and have been external. I tried to get the board to look at doing this when I was on the board to get our dispatch completely free from Lancaster Highway. And it was said, no. We need to cut costs. There is no money tied to this because we don't know how much it's going to cost. The plan is find out what the real costs are. We know what we'll be talking about then. Plan on it for next year. That gives a chance to budget for those costs. To go for the one-time charges, as long as it proves to be the way I believe it's going to be for pricing. In the letter to the end of the day by the chief, he said that it's going to be extended response time because you have to call 911 or look up a dispatch number. It's exactly the same. You dial 911 or you dial the same number that's downstairs right now, and it will be picked up at whatever external dispatch takes over. You're talking a fraction of a second different time for radio signal or electronic signal on fiber to get here. Negligible difference. This is something that really needs to be looked at. The town is bleeding. And as taxpayers, I think we have a right to say where our money is going. And if there are enough people that agree, then that's the way it should be. All these other towns are doing this and have been doing it forever. I mean, Lancaster doesn't have their own dispatch. Never has. In my country. So this article costs us nothing. Except gives us the real information. Because over a phone call, they can only guess. There's no way to get it unless you actually put out an RFP. So this is an absolutely no cost way other than time for probably Peter to get together with, you know, the different parties that be to draw up an RFP. And then we'll get the real answers. Then we can be educated to go at it the way we should. If I'm wrong and it costs more, it didn't cost us a thing to find out. You know, it's always we can't do it, we can't do it, we can't do it. Go ahead.
So my question is on Article 14. My question is, if this is accepted, it sounds like they're asking for a selectman to go out and propose numbers for dispatch. And then if it comes in 75,000 less, that they have to accept it.
Yep.
Is that right?
That's what I'm looking for.
And then if they accept it,
If we can save at least $75,000 a year, I think it's worth it.
if they accept the proposal of wherever, how do we go about setting all that up?
Well, the RFP will explain pretty much what has to be done to set it up. Budgeting for it would be in the 2026 year.
So then it would be an article for next year,
Well, to that point, the same as our dispatch is now.
but they've already accepted it.
Who's already accepted, but yeah, they already have to accept it to put a budget together to do it, yes.
Not, so you're not asking for the board to go out and get bids and see what it would cost, you're saying if it's $75,000 decrease, that they have to accept it.
An RFP is a bid to do it. That is a bid to do it. And then if it comes in under, then planning has to be done to set it up and budgeting to be put in 2026 to cover
And if that gets shut down, I mean, can you after you accept?
it. Well, I guess I can't tell you that one exactly, but I guess what it comes down to, the board does this stuff all the time, it doesn't matter what. No matter what the cost is, the board has had the authority to do it. They add full-time positions, as is their prerogative with this funding therefore or not. And it's expected that it's gonna go through to do it. So I would think that if you're reducing the budget, let's say next year, by the dispatch budget this year is 363. If you take that out for next year and you put in, let's just say, a $250,000 budget, well, that's over $100,000 decrease. I don't know why people wouldn't go for that.
Thank you.
But you're also losing the revenue that you gain from Randolph's.
Excuse me, I'd like to make a point of order. Are you Karen Willoughby?
I am.
You are the wife of the police chief, and as a budget committee member who is the wife of the police chief, you cannot participate in this conversation.
I don't mind explaining that, but I'm saying, I realize there is a very small part of the revenue that comes in on the contracts for the EMS, thank you, and slightly on what they do on fire power for the county, correct? I don't know what's the percentage for that.
It's not broken down in the contract.
Okay, but it was never a very big percentage before. And I find that we will be saving a lot more than anything we gain from that little bit of revenue.
Would not the RFP in question also address that point? So we would know like what was coming in, because we'd be taking bids, but we'd also know what income was coming in from dispatch, so the numbers should be there, so. The income shouldn't, like, we should know,
Well,
if we do this, then we should know, and then we'll know whether it's good or not.
right, but that contract's not gonna change. By that RFP, it still comes out of what we pay. That money that comes in for revenue right now that helps offset the $363,000 will still be coming in to pay for whatever we have to pay on the new one.
Ah, but it's not good.
It's a non, it wasn't worth trying to figure out, because it's the same thing, we still get the same revenue.
Because we're contracting, or we're taking it in for the other towns that we're going to dispatch for.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't, yeah.
Just a maybe quick point, we have just like you might hire somebody to build a deck and you think you're getting a premium service and they find out, oh, we're gonna subcontract with a group out of Home Depot in Manchester. You might not like that. There could be an issue where the county and town of Randolph and Shelburne that we have contracts with might say, we signed a contract for Gorham dispatch. And now you're gonna go out and save $100,000. We want more, or the contract's no good. Or I'm not gonna speak for them, but it could be a complication.
Well, I guess it would be in the wording, and I believe it just says contract or dispatch services are included in.
Yep.
I don't believe it says it has to be done by Gorham's internal dispatch.
And we explained to them that that number is generated for the overall contract based on our budgets. And then they'll say, oh, your budgets went down 100,000. So now we want a new contract. So that's the thing, just to be aware.
I understand, but as I remember, it was just worded on paying for the ambulance service and fire for county, two separate things. And I don't believe it was, I know the first one, I did not see the second contract, it wasn't broken out, it just said it included dispatch services.
Yeah, we didn't break that.
I know I'm way over my 2 minutes, that is not, so, okay.
Do
So,
we have any other questions from anyone about Article 14? Thank you. Elaine Reno, and this is almost kind of directed to Mary, and I'm curious because I'm coming in at the last strike of the bell. So what are we looking at on a guesstimate purpose on the equipment that we're gonna have to upgrade for all of this to take place? And is anybody keeping in mind with the fact of everything that is going on in our country, just in general? And what may have been a $300,000 gig today might be twice that tomorrow. So what concerns me, because I'm a taxpayer too, and I'm all about saving money. There's no doubt about it. I pay enough in taxes, trust me. But what I'm concerned about is that if we do this, like, I'm kind of going where you were going. So if we say, yes, we're gonna put out the dispatch to someplace else, but then we're gonna have to spend a substantial amount of money to do that, and it's gonna take us that much more. It's almost like the water department. I know that you guys, and I didn't get up and say anything, but you're looking to spend $2 million, you're gonna get back 71%. Have you been saving money for the other percentage? Or is it all gonna be today? I'm asking, that's all, because it's gonna end up costing us more money in the long run. I just wanna save money,
I agree.
that's all.
The best.
I mean, it's just a simple question, and I'm not trying to be combative or.
I think, Phil Clute here, just to quickly answer that, I guess I don't think there's really any way of knowing what the cost would be until an RFP actually came back with what was needed. We don't know right now what would be needed by the outside agencies to dispatch for us.
I guess I feel like we're putting the cart before the horse by not finding out what it's gonna cost us to upgrade all of this equipment.
I agree with you, there's just no way of knowing that number unless you have.
I do, I'm kind of late, I had a prior commitment in high school, I was out here, I kind of missed all the questions. But I can kind of answer the dispatch budget a little bit, what's going on. So I reached out to,
Can we turn it up a little bit so we can get a big.
I don't think it's on.
it's not even on.
Yeah, it is on.
I just want to. So I've already reached out to Grafton prior to even the budget season even started. When I put the budget together, I realized how expensive it was, so I reached out to see what we could do to save money. So I reached out to Grafton County. They gave me a figure of $210,000. Excuse me. I read online where people were posting numbers like, Whitefield, Lancaster can do it for a little less than $100,000. So my curious is, where are you getting your numbers?
Where?
Where?
Right off their budget sheets.
Right off their budget sheets.
Whitefield, I believe, went up to, I think it was 55 this year.
Oh, and you do realize that is for PD only, not ambulance, not fire, and it's for the town of Lancaster, the town of Whitefield. I have their square miles. Lancaster is 51, Bethlehem's 91, Whitefield is 35. Gorham has 10 communities covering 600 square miles. We have 10,000 calls in Gorham. Lancaster has a little under 5,000. Whitefield, 3,000. Bethlehem, around 4,000. So even those three towns combined is only what Gorham does itself. And the square miles it covers is not even close. And then we got to factor in the dispatch contracts to these 700 communities, because people contract with us. We don't contract with anybody else. They come to us. And if we took half the contract, gave another half to fire and ambulance, that takes 125,000 directly off the top of our budget, which is income, which is cheaper than what Grafton County can do it for. So I didn't even reach out even further because there wasn't the point. We're actually doing it cheaper than we can contract it out for.
I still say the best thing about Article 14, it doesn't cost us anything to get real numbers in writing.
I have the numbers in writing from Grafton County. Like I said, I've already reached out. I did this prior to budget season.
There seemed to be quite a range of your numbers though that you were giving on the budget committee.
We haven't-
That's fine. I'll wait till you're done.
No, I'm, go
I
ahead.
thought it was a question for you. I thought it was a question for you, that's why.
What was the question again?
Oh, I thought he had a question for you.
Go ahead.
My name's Ryan. We're playing what if here. Everything that we're doing right now is what if. Did you put a contract together? Did you push it out for anyone? Or did you just get a hold of Grafton County from a buddy and that was it?
Not a buddy.
What is wrong with doing this? What is wrong with trying to get a proposal to see how much it's gonna cost from other contractors? Why are we just going, oh, I did this, but we're not seeing any contracts? There's nothing on a piece of paper right here that says this is what it's gonna cost. The what if needs to stop. The next question I have actually for you, select board, town manager, why do we have a chief of police putting his idea of what he thinks is right on a public forum on duty in uniform? Check out Facebook. Your fire chief there? But their own ideas on Facebook. So people that don't wanna say anything are now seeing this on Facebook and getting worried that a chief, fire, and police are writing stuff on Facebook saying this is a bad idea. You're not giving them their option to think on their own because they're afraid of what police officers.
To answer your first question, I do have your own paper. And it costs more money to go to Grafton.
Where is it so everybody can see it?
Right here, it's right here in my folder. It's in email form. He sent it to me, and it is minimum cost of $208,000, $684.
Can you see that now in public and see everything?
Sure, I'm more than happy to show you what you want. And as far as the public forum goes, I am charged and the police chief of Gorham, New Hampshire, and the Facebook it was put on is the Gorham Police Department Facebook page. So I'm more than happy to do that and can do that. And it's part of my job. Thank you.
Thank you. Good words, taxpayer in Gorham for many years. I have to say, our current tax rate is unsustainable. And we have to start looking at options to reduce this tax rate. This is an option. I have to say, you don't want to see anybody lose their job. But salaries and benefits cost a lot of money. And I don't know where we came up with 600 miles. Are we including all the national forests here?
That's part of
I'd like to know how many square miles we have in Gorham. I don't happen to have it with me today. But a lot of even the land we have in Gorham is not populated. It's just forest. You look at what we have that's populated, town of Gorham, Route 16, you know, Route 2 for a little ways. I'm interested in Gorham, New Hampshire, not the surrounding towns and the federal land. We have to reduce our taxes here. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
I think it's important to understand.
Mary, turn and speak more directly into the mic.
Just get closer to it.
I think it's important to understand that an RFP is a request for proposals. That's it. It gets it from anybody who wants to respond, not just one, but anybody who offers that service can respond. It could be Berlin PD, could be Grafton PD, could be Carroll County PD, not PD, but Sheriff's Department, Grafton County Sheriff's Department, Berlin PD, or any other dispatch, because really, it doesn't matter anymore about the distance. Okay, that's not an issue anymore. 100 years ago, it would have been different. With all the technology we have right now, it's just like this, okay? You pick up the phone, you're dialing 911 out of Gorham. It doesn't matter if it's in Grafton County, Carroll County Dispatch, or someplace else. It's still gonna be almost no time at all before that call goes through, okay? The reason Article 14 is here is because the select board and the budget committee in the past has been asked multiple times. Why can't we go someplace else? Why can't we think outside the box and do something different? It was even asked of the select board, and Mike, if you wanna not look at me, that's fine, whatever.
Are you
I'd like
addressing
to-
me? Are you addressing me?
I'm looking at you
Then
right
be
now.
courteous.
I'm looking at you, all three of you. The board has even been asked, can we take advantage of free dispatch from New Hampshire DOT? The board majority said no.
Show me that in writing.
My husband was on the board.
Show me that in writing.
Okay. You wanna play that game?
Oh, no, it's not a game. There was never a formal,
I'm the one speaking,
I'm sorry.
Mike. This is public comment.
When-
I'm the one who's
when-
speaking right now. Thank you. Thank you. You can talk after I'm done. But we asked about free dispatch multiple times. We asked about trying to do something different multiple times to save money. Never happened. All I heard was, it's been talked about a lot. That's it. It's been talked about a lot, but no action ever was taken. This article says the board will be required to issue an official request for proposal. That's it. If the request for proposals come back and they're lower, then Part B of it kicks in. If they come back and they are higher, it stops right there. It stops. It just stops with the RFP. But the RFP gives us specific details for external dispatch so that we know exactly what this entity would charge, what this one would charge, what this one would charge, and what we charge. And then you look at everything because they put it all out. This is what the basic would be. This is what it would be for hooking us up to the system. One-time charge. You look at everything, you figure it out. Does this work or not? Do I want to put people on jobs? I don't want to put people on jobs. I was there in 2011. I don't want that for people, but with the tax rate impact, let me just ask, if every article that has money associated to it for this budget, what's the tax rate gonna be?
Can I just steal that back from you?
It's 28.21. What's it gonna be if everything passes?
The tax rate change today, there's various factors we want to get into today, but today, we get 81 cent change.
An 81 cent increase?
Yes,
I think we're getting off the Article 14, so maybe
Well,
hang on to that thought, Mary.
All right.
And
but
when we get to the next
close
one.
on this, it's.
All right, two things. First off, and I know people think, well, you know, Mike, he's an old dog, and I am an old dog. I started here 39 years ago and pointed to the budget committee.
I guess we will.
Yeah, all right, but I am gonna address a couple of things here that's simply not true. Now, one of the things that happened back in 1990 was that we looked at dispatch. We attempted to have our dispatch handled by the city of Rome. Then we attempted again to have the city of Berlin handle our dispatch. When they built their dispatch center, some of you will remember that, because it made sense. They were building a whole new dispatch center. Clearly, that would be the time for us to go regional. And then after that, we went to them a third time. And the reason I'm giving this to you 1, 2, 3 is because the answer we got, 1, 2, 3, was a budget that was equal to what we were already spending. And that was all right. Now, one of the compromises that happened with Board of Selectmen, there was a tax vote going on, much like this. And people were very excited about the tax rate, which hit something like $106 per thousand. And one of the compromises was that all the clerical work in the police department was going to be done by the dispatchers. Now, that wasn't the case back then. They had a secretary. So the secretary went away, full-time person, and the dispatchers handled not only that clerical work, but any other as assigned projects, and that's still the case, all right? So inquiries, this myth of free dispatch. You know, the Board of Selectmen, doesn't go and call around, or at least I don't. I rely on whoever the police chief of the moment is to do the due diligence, to reach out and get numbers, just as our chief is doing today. And in every case, numbers came back that were high, that required a lot of work on our side to make them work. And, or no, we can't handle it. So it doesn't matter what Lancaster, the deal Lancaster has, and they used to have it free. It doesn't matter what Whitefield has, doesn't matter what Colebrook does. What matters is what will they charge us to do it? That's the only thing that matters. So Grafton gave a quote of $210,000. There was another $200,000 to change the system. This article, second problem. So does the select board have a problem going out and getting an RFP? No. Not at all. No problem whatsoever. It's the mandatory clauses in here. Mandatory. And this is a line that is going to cause real problems, even if the board were in favor of it. Town of Gorham to accept the lowest proposal received for external dispatch service that is at least $75,000 less than the proposed 2025 budget of $360,000. For the Gorham Police Department's internal dispatch service, not including one-time setup costs. Okay, so we still have to, if it's Grafton, we gotta raise and appropriate over $200,000 to change our system over.
We don't know those numbers. That is absolutely.
You know,
And it's not the numbers that the chief gave.
that is, I listened to him on tape.
Nor do we have those papers in front of us.
I actually talked to him about 4 hours ago today, and he said it was gonna be $100,000.
Okay.
It's actually happened, but it is $100,000 we have to come up with just to make the system operate.
That's why he was mistaken, because you had added in extra help to come up with that $400,000.
And that was.
So I want to know, does anybody out there, who understand what this article is asking for, because it will be out there and we will have to respond whether we want it or not.
Just like to say one thing, I would recommend that we really don't need to hash this over tonight, because this is more towards the town meeting than the budget. There's no tax impact by the article. That's my thought on that.
So with that then, everybody can research it for the time. Thank you. So we'll move on to Article 15.
17, that's next money article.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $80,000 for the purpose of highway and sidewalks, asphalt repaving and curbing projects, tax rate impact. 21 cents recommended by the board, 3-0. Anybody have any conversation on that? Okay, we'll go to,
What sidewalks are being done? It's just random.
no, we have a plan on the sidewalks.
This
Would that be? Who's in charge of that?
This. Thank you, Town Manager, Peter Gannon. This is the typical amount we put in for general purpose, our house crews to go out and repair, pave. I think Union Street was a good example this year of what we did, as well as some work out on Pisani and Ray Streets. So this is our kind of in-house resurfacing, and the sidewalks go with roads, so it helps, patching, co-patch, asphalt, things like that.
No, I mean, I'm kind of bringing it up because Pisani Street was one, I live just on Pisani Street. And the patch job they did, like, I hit a ridiculous bump every time I go up or down the road. So I'm about to go out to a cold patch and fix it myself, like, because it's so bad. Like, these are supposed to be fixes and like it was contracted to an outside company. Like, is the town actually inspecting like afterwards? Cause I mean, I know I have construction experience, but it was like the worst patch job I've ever seen on my road. It was a tiny little section in the top section. So is like the town doing this or is this just get subcontracted out?
That particular job was subcontracted out with asphalt. We don't have our own asphalt, machine. Now you could recommend, for next year's budget, we can put more money in, for that. But, this is kind of the traditional 80,000 we put in.
Do we come back and like, does somebody from the town actually look at it? Cause it was such, like, I know it's my road particularly that you brought up, but it was just such a bad job.
I can refer to see our chief over here. You can say if we have the inspections work for that too.
No, we did inspect it, and you got a little bump like this, or you got big holes like this. What, I don't know what.
Well, it's the top, wasn't the back,
It
it's
isn't
like
like
the road,
this,
the part that goes up. Like the section I did in my transition, it's like.
We didn't cut any hot top out, we just shimmed it on there to try to make it better, instead of having holes in the road. We try to make it better, is what we did, and I really don't think it's that bad. If there's a little bump in the road compared to a big hole in the road, it's dirt.
Yeah, I respect what's going on here, but we're talking about the 80,000, what do we want to appropriate the 80,000, so. I think if there's issues like that, maybe bring it up. Town hall and bring it up at another time. Thank you. Do Article 18?
Okay.
Thank you.
So Article 18 is to see if the town would vote to amend the purpose, just to clarify, the road construction and resurfacing CRF to include sidewalks. That uses matching funds toward grants and to, raise and appropriate the sum of $250,000 to be added into the road resurfacing and reconstruction capital reserve fund. The balance as of the end of 2024 was $651,557. The tax rate impact is about 65 cents.
Comments? Questions?
Okay. Real quick, Article 19 is the, will town vote to raise and appropriate the amount of $18,591 for the town clerk's operating budget. Recommended by the board 201. I guess that's our Article. Any comments on Article 19?
Is that a different line item from?
Yeah, we wanted this year, because we're changing kind of how the town has the town clerk separated out, to have that be its own article, just so it's clear. So,
Does that amount include salary and overhead?
it's salary and all the day-to-day costs. And as mentioned in budget committee meetings, select board meetings, or the budget, it's an elected position, so this starting this year is gonna be a 4,000 a year stipend plus 1,000 per no election. Just in case you had to watch any of those meetings.
Bronson? They have,
way this is presented, you've got public safety. Could you break down what public safety consists of?
When I get to Article 20, I will sue, so you should not have me.
Pardon me?
When I get to Article 20, I will, so just 1 second.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have any questions on
No,
19?
you're fine.
All right.
So Article 20. And so to see the town will raise and appropriate the budget, or sorry, there is a typo. This is not the budget committee's recommended amount. This is the board of selectmen's recommended amount of $5,419,426 for the general municipal operations. This article does not include any special or individual articles addressed. This was recommended by the board of selectmen 3-0. As Sue just asked, public safety includes, and this is off the top of my head, I'm gonna broken down right in front of me. But that would be fire, EMS, police, dispatch, and I believe emergency management. I think I hit all of those.
What about the amount?
What is it? You want to know the amount? I'm sorry, amount.
What I wanted to know, and I guess I would jump in the gun a little bit.
Uh,
I want to know how much fire costs, fire department, how much EMS costs, how much the police cost, and how much dispatch costs. Break down.
the board approved budget is posted to the town's website.
Pardon me?
The board approved budget is posted to the town's website under the finance page, so it can be found there. So while I don't have it right in front of me at this moment, it can be found on our website.
So there is an expense budget and it's posted on the website.
Fire and EMT together is $938,451. Police, 907,671, and then you can look at emergency management.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, I don't have the, I guess, emergency management, but fire EMT, their budget is $938,451. Police, 907,671. So. And dispatch?
I have EMS while you're waiting.
I had those already together with fire.
So we'll leave them for now.
Which are emergency management and dispatch.
Emergency management is
731.
8,281. You get back to 8281 for emergency management.
Dispatch,
The other one?
363, 417. 363, what? 417. 417.
And as I have noted on here, in the warrants themselves, you can't really put it in there. But we do have offsetting revenues. I will note that this revenue will get adjusted later with the DRA, which is the Department of Revenue Administration. It's the same process we do every year. That's usually around September. But currently, that amount of operating revenue is budgeted at $1,615,055. That amount will likely end up being higher come September, but the DRA recommends we budget a more conservative figure because we do not know what the state will give us for things like rooms and meals tax. So they do recommend a budget that lower amount. So currently the net operating budget for Article 20 as of today would be $3,804,370. So I just want to make sure that was noted and explained, because in the warrant that you see, like in the town report, that note wouldn't be in there. So that's why I want to get it out here, because there isn't really a mechanism to include that. So, any additional questions for Article 20? Okay. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $171,415 for the operation of the Gorham Public Library. Tax rate impact 44 cents. Recommended by the board 3-9. Any comments, questions on Article 21? To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for the purpose of supporting the 4th of July committee for the cost of fireworks for the 4th of July celebration. Tax rate impact 3 cents. Recommended by the board 3-0. Any questions on Article 22? Okay. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $55,000 to be added to the fire truck capital reserve fund as previously established. The end of year balance is $329,614. Tax rate impact would be 14 cents. Recommended by the board 3-0. Any questions on Article 23?
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh.
Ron, sorry.
Yeah.
What do we do to get another fire truck?
Oh, toss it over to
Bill Cooley, fire chief. So we actually have one, that we're gonna be picking up in the next 4 months. It's 222,000 that we're using out of that and another 100,000 that was ARPA funds that were, as part of COVID funding.
Yeah.
And then our next truck is 4 to 5 years down the road.
that. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to the SCBA, which stands for Self-Contained Breathing Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund, as previously established. End of year balance was $17,883. Tax rate impact is 30 cents. I recommend by the board 3-0. And I'll just do Article 25 quick. To see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $45,000 to be added to the ambulance CRF. End of year balance is $140,334. Tax rate impact of 12 cents, also unanimously approved. Any comments on Articles 24 or 25? Okay. Article 6, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the police cruiser CRF. Balance as of the end of the year, $27,574. Tax rate impact 7 cents. Article 27, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 to be added to the police equipment CRF. End of year balance $37,621.46. Tax rate impact 3 cents. And Article 28, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $13,000 to be added to the dispatch CRF. The balance as the end of the year is $74,001. Tax rate impact 3 cents. All were unanimously recommended by the board. So any comments or questions on any of these three? Okay. Article 30, see if the town will raise and appropriate sum of $271,500 to be added to the highway heavy equipment capital reserve fund as previously established. End of year balance is $235,253. Tax rate impact 53 cents. Recommended by the board of selectmen 3-0. And quickly, Article 31 is to raise and appropriate $25,000 to be added to the sanitation and recycling capital reserve fund. And your balance is $112,791. Tax rate impact 7 cents. Any comments, questions on Articles 30 or 31?
Why is Article 30 so high?
So me and our public director John sat down and initially came in at a much lower number, and for the board of selectmen's request, we're asked, hey, those don't seem like realistic numbers. Please do your homework, come back with quality estimates, and so we did. And when we came back, it seemed like every single piece of equipment that we needed to replace came back at right around 2/3 to double what it was. So the piece of equipment Like, I believe another truck that we're replacing used to cost $160,000, now it costs $250,000. Same size piece of equipment, nothing really changed other than the market changed post-COVID. So things that used to cost $160,000 now cost $90,000 to $100,000 more. So across the board, things are replaced over the next 5, 6, 7 years. All costs, almost double. So to accommodate, that's why that increased. Searching for a few of the small ones to see if the town raise and appropriate some 3,600 to be added to Kate's Hill Landfill Expendable Trust Fund. Balance as of the end of the year, 15,660. Cash impact of a penny. And Article 33 to see if the town raised and appropriate some 3,500 to be added to the East Mile Monitoring Expendable Trust Fund. And year balance 75,346. Tax rate impact also penny. And there is a typo, the budget committee has not voted to recommend, so that is a typo. Any comments or questions?
One quick question, and maybe Yves can answer it, is that those closing funds, is that a perpetual, that's from AVRDD, I'm assuming, right?
No. The Agawam district is self-funded entirely by the communities in the county that belong to it. We have all our money in the bank. So we're all set. This is actually for the Gorham landfill. And we used to take stuff to the Gorham landfill. We need to provide the closing costs. That was part of the agreement from way back when. We're doing this every year.
I did.
And we'll be doing it for a while longer.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was an every year thing before, I just didn't realize for forever. I know I've heard it before. but-
Until it's closed.
Until it's closed, yeah.
Okay. Article 34, to see the town raise and appropriate the sum of $2,725 to be added to the Medallion Opera House Capital Reserve Fund as previously established. Funds to come from the end of the year unassigned fund balance. Balance as of the end of the year, and CRF is $7,481. So no amount to be raised through taxation. That's all revenue that was generated in the year for town hall rental. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $62,000 to add to the assessment capital reserve fund. Balance as of the end of the year, $127,612. Tax rate impact 16 cents. And Article 36, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be added to the information technology CRF. Balance as of the end of the year, $30,977. Tax rate impact 20 cents. Okay, any questions on 34, 35, or 36? Okay.
Well, first thing, like, the reason I said about the 200,000, that I want you to be wrong. And the chief had said that it was different numbers that added up to that, and there was a report here. And I didn't want to do that, but for this, you guys signed an RFP, a contract now, I'm sorry, for assessing the other night. There was no price given at all at your meeting, so I don't know. Okay. However, you have $125,000 in the assessing budget to do a statistical evaluation this year. It was 72,000 last year to do that, and it didn't get done, but half the money was spent on pickups and whatever. So does this change the amount of money that you got on that? From that RFP saying that it's still gonna be 125,000. The second part of that is that's supposed to set us off, so we have 5 more years before we do another reval. Yeah, which is what you folks said, correct? I want to make sure. If that's the case, why don't we take 125 out of this capital reserve fund? If we have to do a separate wording for the assessing, take it out of this because we have 5 more years to earn that back. And we're ready for another one instead of taking it all out of our taxes for 1 year for $125,000. So can this be done?
It is good.
Yeah, go for it. I asked you
Yeah,
to
so-
the board.
Bronson perfectly capable of answering that, but the capital reserve fund for assessing is basically the war chest for, big suits, and we have one, in Brookfield. And that is why that fund needs to exist, and the 125 is separate. If we lose, Brookfield, you're looking at $2 or $3 per thousand on that case. Now, we're in that battle with the city of Berlin and with the town of Dunbar. So we're spreading our costs. We have the firm that we've used for the last 30 some odd years, which is San Souci. They have good track record in court, better than any other firm that we get. So we're fairly confident we're gonna prevail. Sadly, when you're dealing with a multi-billion-dollar corporation who has a legal department that is funded by millions, and you're a municipality, and you're starting off behind the 8 ball. We have succeeded more often than not in the past, but to answer the quick question, Adam, the money in that capital reserve is more or less already planned for this upcoming lawsuit. And I'll let Peter, who was in negotiations today, add a little to that.
Sure, thank you, that was the joy of my week. We can't regularly involve too much, but I can tell you that the Brookfield, like many large utilities, they have a standard operating policy of rolling through little communities. And they might, let's say, just throwing out round numbers, we think they have a $20 million property, and with a straight face, they'll say, no, it's worth about 8.5. And if you don't like that, here's our lawyers, and we're gonna take you to court. So the tax revenue that we would lose is catastrophic. When we have tax bills that are out there, the typical strategy for them is to come back and say, you've overvalued us, we want all our money back. And we'll throw a number at you, like just not being too creative. Gorham owes us $800,000. So it's important for us to be able to have the quality experts, and the war chest is I guess, an accurate enough term, to say we can fight back, we're not gonna be pushed over in the ditch by whatever big corporate utility or commercial that's out there. So, yeah, I mean, the best answer to your question is, this is needed money for us to basically have the funds to go forward to protect.
Okay, well, the other half of that, or maybe third of that question was when the $125,000 was put into the assessing budget. It was because we didn't have an answer back yet, this is the way it was explained at the meeting. We didn't have the RFPs back to find out what it was gonna cost to have somebody do the statistical readout. And now we do we still need that $125,000 or is it gonna be less?
So the good news with that RFP, when we had original numbers, Bronson and I put together, a conservative number. And the good news was we were able to negotiate some of those down. There's 2 contracts. We have a new assessor. Their contract is being reviewed by the DRA. So it won't be officially actionable until they give us the heads up, which could be in the next few days. Everything lines up, everything looks good. One contract was for a statistical reval for 2025. And then the other was a 3-year contract for general assessing purposes, which Michelle Ellis and I were able to negotiate down to a much lower rate than was presented to the budget committee. So that contract should be available as soon as the DRA says, great. And
So basically, we still don't know is what you're, yeah. What that 125 number is gonna be.
no, we do know. Yeah,
We do not.
We don't, I mean,
It's gonna be 125. That is the fixed sum, with the new assessor. And I know, from a meeting that some of you were at earlier. So I know some people have concern with us doing this fiscal update because the residential property values, having done what they've done over the last 4 years, has led to a shift in tax burden that is real and demonstrable. And so one of the comments I heard, was, Mike, we don't want a statistical reval, this is bad enough. So this is the dilemma that the board faces, and I'll explain it as simply as I can. You have an equalization rate this year of 75%. And we asked our assessor, what will that do to us on utility property? And they came back with a $6 million in value adjustment. And just keep the math simple. All right, we're close enough to $30 per thousand. So just think of it as 30,000 for every million. 3 sixes is 18. That's $180,000 that we're gonna have to find if we don't do the statistical update. Yet, at the same time, if there's every indication that residential property has, and will continue to go up. Now, we're hoping that things are finally starting to level off. Real estate doesn't seem quite as crazy as it was 2 years ago. But that's the circumstances we find ourselves in. We can go find $180,000 somewhere. Or we can spend 125 and the town will be up to 100%. And the DRA has said to the town that even though this is a statistical update, which is different than a full reval, they are willing to accept it as a full reval. So we will not have to do another one until 2030. And so that's a significant savings for us, and for you. That would probably, be well over 125,000. So, Adam, I don't know if that answers all your questions.
Most of it, that's basically where I was getting at. The other thing is, at the meeting where this was being discussed, you said the DRA was forcing us to, and we had to do fiscal rebound.
Correct.
I called DRA.
Yeah.
They don't do that. They said the BLT, the BTOA doesn't. I'm thinking sandwiches now, I'm getting hungry.
So they're right, they told you it's right, but they said to me, and
To the entire board of selectmen, to the town manager, is you don't want us to go to the BTLA and tell them you need to do this. That's what they said.
Well, and
So I know the semantics that they weren't lying to you, but they weren't being entirely truthful either. So our circumstances were dual fold. All right, one, we had the BTLA threat given to us by the DRA. And then we also had the loss of value on utility property of $6 million. So between those two, there's really no wiggle room. We're gonna do this. We may not, and we won't be, I'm not very happy with where we are with valuations right now. It's madness. But here we are, and it's not just happening to us. I mean, the town of Conway is an open revolt over this. And every town around us, and you'll see this play out at town meeting, you're gonna see big increases in tax rates. And it's not gonna be the full impact. It's just like here. You looked at, an almost $4 increase in your taxes, but then when you did the math on your individual houses, it was like, oh, wait a minute, I'm paying a lot more than that. And you are, because your value went up. And so the combination of those two things is driving a tax revolt that starts at the sea and ends in Canada. It's affecting every community some more than others.
just to be fair, it doesn't end in Canada. I'm gonna be, okay, you can say,
I'll take
keep
your
going,
word.
go on. But anyway, the main part of this was whether that could be taken out of the capital reserve, that was the answer to the question. I want to bring up to try and save some here. Instead of the other, I thought the BTLA stuff was all done, I'm gonna believe legal. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Just, one
Oh, yeah.
Mike, I don't wanna beat a dead horse, but it took me so long to learn what equalization ratio really means for us. I think maybe an overview for everybody of what that, why the statistical rebound is so important in the equalization ratio.
Can I just answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the budget committee, so maybe, I don't know, I even should, I should just do that, but. Right, so the quick answer is, under state law, utility companies have special rules. And if the equalization, meaning if you have a house that we say is worth 100,000, but it sells for 150, it means we're off, we are taxing correctly. Utilities will automatically get that discount. So if the town of Gorham or any municipality, city, town has an equalization rate that's not 100%, and let's say it's 50%, the utilities in that community will say, thank you, you can value us at 20 million and we automatically get a 50% discount. So when Mike says we're at 72 in the 70s, that's almost 30% discount that all the utilities would get. And then the other critical note is it's especially dangerous because then you have other commercial properties don't get the automatic drop, but they go to the BTLA, they go to support and say, we want that too. So then we end up in court and saying, why isn't XYZ commercial getting that 30% discount as well? And then we lose. So that's why equalization is important.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
I have a problem understanding about all this equalization is that it only comes out in September or October. So what we decide during this budget and the 81 cents could be totally offset by this equalization rate that comes out in September, October. So and that's what happened to us last year. That rate came out and then our taxes went up crazy. So we thought we were getting taxed a certain thing and it didn't happen because of the equalization rate. So we always have to keep that in mind. Also with the revenues, that doesn't come out right off neither. So that comes out whenever. September as well. So we decide a budget now, but in September, it changes. Did that help?
Article 37, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of 41,000 to be added to the road maintenance external trust fund. The said funds come from unassigned fund balance. December 31st balance of $182,507. Going to be raised by taxation because we are taking reimbursements that we received from FEMA and putting it back into this trust fund. Article 38, see if town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 to be added to the special insurance expendable trust fund as previously established December 31st, 2024, $9,727.07. And Article 39, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $15,000 to be added to the longevity severance expendable trust fund. Balance at the end of the year, $16,772.04. Tax rate impact, 4 cents. Any questions on 37, 38, or 39?
Just a quick one. Do these have ceilings on them?
I
know that.
I don't believe these ones do.
I think that you guys would work on setting those, figuring out what's reasonable, so it doesn't keep going every year, no matter how much is in it. I don't know what the right amount is. But as just put it on, once it gets to a certain point, we don't put into it until it goes below again. But figure out what it is. Going forward would be a suggestion.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Well, in the home stretch. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of 14,000 for the purpose of supporting clients of Armstrong Valley Home Care Services who live in Gorham. Tax rate impact 4 cents. This is by petition. Board recommended 3-0. Article 41, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,745 for the operation of Tri-County Community Action Program, service programs in Gorham. Tax rate impact 2 cents. Recommend, this is by petition and recommended by the board 3-0. And then Article 42, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of 10,000, which is $250 per enrolled child for the purpose of supporting the Gorham Community Learning Center in Gorham. With 40 children enrolled, tax rate impact 3 cents by petition and recommended by the board, a vote of 3-0. Any questions, comments on 40, 41, or 42?
Yeah, very white. Gorham Community Learning Center is a wonderful place, okay? It provides really good childcare for kids who are going there. And I'm very happy that they're gonna be getting out of their current location because I think it was pretty tight for them there. However, we already are looking at a significant loss of tax revenue because they are purchasing the old credit union building. And because we cannot tax them because they are a nonprofit, is it correct that we will get no tax revenue from that building?
That would be correct. They can operate, there's a school and a not-for-profit, so they are, they would be the tax exempt status.
And the building, I believe, is valued at over $650,000. I think it's
Current tax roll,
665, 655.
It's, I think, the current tax rate, the purchase price is around that. So, yeah, the last time I looked, it was.
The assessment.
Under 7. Yeah, the assessment was under 7.
The assessment.
Like 650 something.
And so, quick math, what would that be in terms of lost tax revenue? Because that building is now going to be owned by a nonprofit versus.
It would be
a
probably
tax.
24,000.
Right, yeah. I think it's around 18, but it's a chunk of change that we are going to lose in terms of tax revenue from that building. I don't think it's appropriate that they should be asking the town for anything at this point. The other question I had, I just saw that we put out an RFP for a grant, I believe administrator. What is the cost to the town for that? And that was for their community.
That will be, it was a pretty sophisticated, complex grant. They have a grant stack, it's a CDFA, CDBG grant. Part of the grant application had, grant administration costs in that.
Mhm.
So that will be one of those. It costs me time to coordinate but my time is, I'm not tracking the town extra, so that will be covered by the grant itself.
So what will the town pay, if anything, for the administrative? Is that you or what is?
The town is the sponsor for the grant.
Mhm.
Part of the grant paperwork, you can put in for different, we're gonna put in a driveway, we need equipment, we need to, part of the grant application has a grant administrator on it. So the person that we are gonna be hiring will have no cost to the town.
That's all I was looking for. Thank you for the clarification. I still feel the 10,000 is not appropriate because we're already using tax income more than that.
Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Any other comments on 40, 41, or 42? Okay, right along. Last three. Article 43, to see if the town raises and appropriate the sum of 2,000 for the purpose of supporting our local Special Olympics team and Armstrong River athletes. Less than a penny impact, and this is by petition. Article 44, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of 3,000 for the purpose of supporting the Armstrong Valley Chamber of Commerce marketing efforts. Tax rate impact is also less than a penny. And Article 45, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of 5,000 for the purpose of supporting hospice, palliative, home health, and long-term services from North Country Home Health and Hospice Agency to the residents of Gorham, tax rate impact, pending by petition. Always are.
We have a young lady here from the hospice, health and home health that would like to speak.
So I just wanted to kind of share some stats with you for 2024. So 2024, we made 53,162 visits across Palouse and Grafton County. And we experienced 11% increase in the number of patients that we served, with a 14% rise in our total visits. In Gorham, we visited 86 patients, 1,820 times for home health, long-term, and our hospital services. Despite the challenges of rising costs and reduced reimbursements from insurance company, North Country Home Health and Hospice remains steadfast in our commitment to ensuring that no one needs to go without care.
These funds basically fill in for the loss that you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
I want to address this here, but I personally, it can be thought about. It's not money here because there's no money on the public either. There's no money on 14, but it's up here right now, so I suspect it. I saw the article for giving the board permission to sell our interest in the Family Resource Center building. I wholeheartedly, I mean, you know that. I mean, I pushed it how many times? Right? Many. I do not like the idea of selling it to a nonprofit just to be able to keep out unsavory businesses. That's $1 million building. Even if we don't get $1 million for it, it's $1 million building that should be put on the tax rolls. It should be tried to get it out for a for-profit and possibly what, build maybe housing, apartments, whatever. But that should be tried first instead of losing more money for the town. There's a chance to gain good tax dollars instead of just throwing away more.
So Adam, just for the benefit,
Okay.
you know, I mean, you've heard all what other people haven't, and I've been pushing this since you were on the board. I also sit on the school board, I push it there. And received not a very positive response. So they own 11% of the building. The town owns 89% of the building. What this article does, it is just give some verbal support to the selectmen going forward. It's a wide open field. I mean, like anything, it's going to be worth what someone's willing to pay for it. And at the end of the day, the hard reality is that even though the school only owns 11%, that's if they only own 1%, they would still have veto power on anything that we might want to do. They can simply say, you know, no, we're not going to go along with that, and you can't sell a fee simple property. If one part of it belongs to someone else. And the contract and an agreement between the town and the school matters somewhat convoluted. But what we hope to do is to get the town out of the ownership of that building, because at this point, it's gotten old enough that somebody is going to start needing to put money aside to maintain the building. And the town has no real use for the structure. The goal was to save the structure, we saved it. $750,000 was put into it by a nonprofit, they renovated. And so, Is it worth $1 million? Well, for workforce housing, we had 2 organizations come through town who would probably give us that for it. But the hard reality is that if the townspeople say, yes, we're okay with you taking the next step to take the town's name off the deed, the next step is to somehow negotiate an agreement with the school, who owns the 11%. And I think the minimum we're looking for is that the town's name's off that deed, and we don't have to start raising and appropriating money for the building. So that's at the bare minimum what we want to see. And what's actually gonna happen is kind of a no-go right now, but our first goal is to get permission from the people of Gorham to start working towards getting the town off that deed. And I hope that answers your question.
Well, it does to the point, but like I said, at the meetings, I know there's already an agreement going on with a nonprofit, like comments by Peter. And Judy's comment of wanted to have say over who goes in there for businesses. Because we don't want the unsavory businesses in there. Well, first of all, I don't think that's our choice. And I really think you should be pushing to sell it for profit first. If it can't happen, I agree with you. I want our name off the building. I do. We don't need it. I'm 100% behind that. I guess, I'm sorry, 89% behind that, because 11. But try and put it on the tax rolls first. Give it a real old school try. Because that would benefit the town more than just having our name on it.
We would have to. We would have to look at any and all, offers or interest, or, I mean, we can't just market it to nonprofits. We would have to look at everybody who might be interested in it and take the best deal.
And as long as that's the way, that would be great, but that's not the way it sounded at the meeting. That's what I'm bringing it up for, just saying.
Thank you for those comments, and now back to our budget program.
Or was someone else that had a question? This is a couple real quick. Earlier it was asked, but if all, I'm sorry, Colleen McEachin.
Thank you.
I just assume everybody know, I'm sorry. So earlier, somebody asked what, if all of these warrants passed, what the impact on the tax rate would be. And did I hear it right that somebody said 84 cents?
It'd be, assuming all else is equal, which it never is, it would be 81 cents on the municipal tax rate alone, not the school, not the state, not the county.
Okay, but so to clear up my confusion, in going down through each one of these, you're telling us what the tax rate impact would be.
The total change.
Like
increase.
1 cent or 3 cents or 5 cents.
Yeah, so when we go through.
Okay,
Yeah,
so when I added them all up, I came up to over $14, not 84 cents. 3 of
Sorry,
them,
no,
4 of them, one is 53 cents, one is 21 cents, one is 65 cents, and one is 44 cents. And that's not counting.
that's the amount for the year, not the change.
Okay, so if all of these pass, my taxes are only going to go up 84 cents or 81 or 86 or whatever per thousand.
For the town.
For the town portion, I know.
Okay, so Ron, as an accountant, he knows it's difficult. I look at this as a ceiling. So as we get more revenues in, again, we do, meals and rooms tax. You want to get in our 4 million, the DRA, the state says, only put down 150, because you never know what Congress is gonna do. You don't want to put in, we're gonna get 250, and then only get 150, that's bad. So we put in conservative low numbers. As we get more revenues in, that 81 cent ceiling, hopefully that'll come down to 72 or 78 or 75, things like that.
But even worst case scenario, you're not saying that the individual taxes for residents, no school, is just under $2 per thousand, as it is right now.
The increase, the ceiling would be 81 cents, 82 cents.
Okay, my other quick question is, going back to Article 14, I'm just curious. How could that have been written, where you guys would have said, yeah, that's a good idea, let's go out and get bid proposals? You don't like the way it was written, at least that's what I'm understanding. So what could be taken out of that article to give you the incentive to follow your taxpayers' request to at least go get bids?
Simple,
Without the $75,000 mandate.
yes.
Is that what,
Yeah,
Tick you off?
it definitely is, and then coupled with that is telling us not to consider the clerical need in the department and the capital expense to,
Switch over.
to switch over. And so then there's a number of other floating things here, like this building. And currently, there's someone in this building 24/7, so, you know, if we were just a group of people from town using this room, you get on the calendar, you use the room, you go out, we don't worry about it, we don't lock the door, because there's someone in here. And so we talk with Primex, the insurer of the town, they say, is the building being monitored? Yes, there's always someone in the building, they have cameras, and there's a physical presence. So you work all these things out, all right, and then you come back to the people and say to the people, all right, this is the best deal we can get on an RFP. And then you vote on that.
yeah, I do understand the workings of an RFP. My question was more, it was evident from your reactions watching on the Zoom thing, whatever. You weren't even gonna consider this, you dismissed it right out of hand. That told me that there was something about it that you did not like.
Well,
So, in trying to find compromise, if the voters are asking you, and they did, there was a petition, the voters are asking you to please just research this. How do you want that thing written, so you will approve it? And
just what I said, and I've already been through this process half a dozen times before, I have no problem at all, and I don't think the other selectmen have any problem at all, doing an RFP process.
you just don't want the
It's just
mandate.
that there are a lot of moving parts, and really, whatever it is we come up with on that RFP and the budgetary impacts and the changes, all of that should come to the people at town meetings so they can see exactly what it is they're voting on.
I agree, I understand that. My question just was, if, in order to get the Board of Selectmen on board, no pun intended, with the taxpayers, obviously the wording was not the way you wanted it. That's kind of petty to me, but I get it. You're trying to cover your bases, you're contacting a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. I'm curious, who's paying for that lawyer?
So every warrant goes to our lawyer. Every warrant goes to the DRA. There was nothing special about that. So that is misinformation. Every one goes to our lawyer.
Okay,
But
that's good to know.
makes sense. The second part is our lawyer is scratching her head because it was so written in a way that it was not clear to her what was being requested. So there's the word in there, you must accept a bid that's 75,000 less. So it's not just go for an RFP, it says you will, when and will accept.
So if we went just for the RFP and took everything out, aside from that,
That would be.
would you then actively research if this is even possible?
Cost analysis.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Of course.
yes.
Of course we would. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, so otherwise that will conclude the budget hearing for tonight. Town meeting will be on Tuesday, March 11th at 7 o'clock at the Gorham Middle High School Gymnasium. Now the budget committee will go into their scheduled meeting to go over its budgets.